Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time you're watching this. I'm here with my good friend Arif,
Hi guys, how are you doing?
and we are here to discuss on a serious and ongoing health issue that has been present in Malaysia for many years, which is child abandonment. Right. So a little quick introduction to what child abandonment exactly is. Child abandonment No, sorry. Child abandonment is a form of child neglect. It is an offense that is punishable by the law, and it usually results from unwanted pregnancies. Many teenagers who get pregnant outside the wedlock are forced to abandon their babies in desperation and fear of the consequences. Right? So, in other words, to put it simply, it refers to parents leaving a child that is younger than 12 months in a public or private place with the intent of terminating their care for the child. Now, child abandonment is actually classified under a subsection of child abuse status and is punishable as a felony. So now the legal implications of child abandonment and infanticide are under Child Act 2001 at Act 611 at Section 17, whereby abandoned children will be protected and cared for. Section 46, parents can seek help or advice about regarding a child over whom they are unable to exercise proper control, whereby such a child will be detained in an approved place under the authority of the court. Now, in Malaysian criminal laws, those who abandon babies shall be punished with imprisonment up to 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will now pass it on to Arif to discuss about the numbers in Malaysia.
Hi and good evening guys. Today I'll be explaining about numbers in Malaysia, which is quite bad. The number of 1,010 cases of baby dumping has been recorded between 2010 to May 2019, in which 64% of those cases, the babies were found dead. Research shows that around 14 in 1,000 underage girls in Malaysia get pregnant every year, which adds up to an average of 18,000 girls per year. This would mean that people are dumping babies roughly one every 3 days, and around 2 or 3 babies will end up dying. The fifth Malaysian Population and Family Survey 2014 showed an increase from 2.2% in 2004 to 4.8% in 2014 in the number of adolescents who engage in sexual intercourse. The survey also found that 35.3% of teenagers, over one-third, were exposed to pornography. I'll pass it back to Emma for further explanation.
All right, guys. Why do people abandon their child, right? So there are many reasons. The first are these babies are caused by unwanted pregnancy. Now, unwanted pregnancy itself is caused by those, specifically adolescents or young adults, that perform sexual intercourse that don't have any education, or they lack of education in regards of sex, right? So they lack sexual education. They may not know how babies are made. They may not know how to stay protected while having sex, for example, using a condom, or. So a lack of education can cause unwanted pregnancy. Now, furthermore, other than that, promiscuity among adolescents also contribute to unwanted pregnancy. Now, I mean promiscuity by maybe those um, uh, that's, for example, a young mother that is pregnant, right? Soon to be mother that is pregnant are surrounded by people that say that having a child is a big commitment. They whisper all these things in her ears, saying that not just the female as well as the male of the couple, saying that having a child is can be is a big commitment in financially as well as mentally. It can be very tiring, it can be very stressful. It also costs a lot of money to buy, the essentials, for example, diapers, their milk, and all these things. So, these whispers in their ears can cause them to not want to have the baby and can cause them to abandon them, right? So, what are the consequences of child abandonment, right? So, the medical consequences towards the baby that is being dumped is, like Arif mentioned before, are the higher rates of deaths in baby. So, like Arif mentioned before, out of the 1,010 cases that have happened, of baby dumping cases that have happened in Malaysia from 2010 on upwards to May of 2019, 64% of those babies unfortunately did not make it. They died. So this can be caused to how the babies were abandoned. Maybe they were thrown away by a cliff or at a high ceiling, high story apartment, at a high rise condominium. Maybe they were thrown in garbage disposals, all of these nasty places, that can cause them to die, which is very tragic that they die in such a painful and unfortunate way, right? So that's one. Now, the medical consequences are not only just towards the babies, that they are also towards the mother that gave birth to those babies. So, a mother's health is at risk of blood loss, infection, and birth injuries, right? And what's worse is when a mother who just gave birth does not attend to a hospital or to a clinic to address these medical issues. This could be because of she worries of the social consequences. She worries that she could be judged by the doctors or her family, her friends, or even by the government. Because as I mentioned before, child abandonment is actually can cause one to be punished with imprisonment of up to 20 years, right? So those are the medical consequences. Now, onwards to the psychological consequences, you know, uh, abandoning a child can make you depressed, it can make you lose your confidence. It can cause you to have guilt feelings and anxieties, right? It can cause various serious mental health issues. Uh, and yeah, this is unhealthy and should be avoided at all cost, right? Because this can happen because you just abandon a child, you just abandon a form of life, you abandon something that you gave birth to for 9 months, right? Now, moving on to the social consequences, as I mentioned before, the legal implications of child abandonment and infanticide, infant killing, of whereby those who perform the act can face prison. They will also face a very hefty fine. It's not just the legal implications. Their relationships can break down with the partner, with their families and friends. They can be looked frowned upon by society, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I will pass it on to Arif.
So moving on to the baby life matter, at the heart of the issue are unwanted pregnancies, mainly from underage girls who not only face stigma over pregnant at a young age, but also lacks of knowledge on sexual education and support from their loved ones. Research has found that the majority of parents do not want to abandon their children, but however, when confronted with poverty, illness, or social exclusion, they often make this decision thinking that they are acting in the best interest of the child. Moving on to how to prevent child abandonment, um, the main point is that the role of parents. Parents need to be more proactive and aware of the issue of baby dumping and sexual activity among teenagers. Be open and approachable to your children, even when it comes to questions about sex, conception, and intimacy. Next is family planning. Maybe you can ask to your partner whether you want to have a child or anything, or maybe you can use protection for while having sex with your partners. And other than that, you can seek for counseling services for the mother and or the whole family. And for single mothers, they can apply financial support for the newborn child. And maybe you can avoid pregnant if you are not married. You're in charge of your own life. Do not let anyone pressure you into having sex. There are a lot of good reasons to say no or not yet. Protecting your health and also your feelings is one of them. You can always say no, even you said yes before. The partner who loves and respects you will not ask for sex before marriage. And you must remember that your body is your responsibility. And maybe you can avoid reading or viewing pornographic material and get more involved in more meaningful activities such as sports, exercise, cultural activities, or other volunteer works that you can do. And if you are already involved in premarital sex, please think of the consequences carefully. Seek help if you are pregnant. Just think that you are not alone by yourself. There are organizations that can help you. You can arrange for a formal adoption. Be aware of legal implications of child abandonment and infanticide. I'll pass it back to Emma for further explanation.
Okay, thank you so much, Arif. And I firmly agree with what you said. With how women, they have a choice and they are in control of their life, and they should decide
Yes.
whether they want to have the baby or not. Okay, so
Yes.
thank you. So now we have devised a way to create awareness towards this social issue, and that is by publishing this campaign on Instagram that is called Purple Tuesday. Now, the concept and rule behind this campaign is very simple. Post a purple background on your Instagram feed with the hashtag Say No to Child Abandonment. So this is basically an action to raise attention and awareness through social media, through Instagram, towards child abandonment. The aim of this action is to help Malaysians be aware and reflect on the effects that child abandonment has on society. Now, this action is not meant to be against those who are a part of the issue, maybe those who have caused, who have done child abandonment in the past. Instead, it is a way to help understand them and figure out ways to ensure that this issue comes to an end. We are not here to attack. We are here to create awareness for the whole country, for everyone to know, to educate people about this issue so that they don't do the same thing, and put a stop to it, put an end to it. So wherever day you are watching this, feel free to post a purple background on Tuesday to create awareness for towards this issue.
Yeah. And for me, I think there's no one that deserves to be abandoned in this life, Like
Yeah,
everyone deserves to be loved by their loved ones,
yeah,
and not to be abandoned in this life.
yeah. No baby deserves to be killed and
Yes.
thrown away at such a young age. They should be loved and cherished throughout their
Yes.
childhood.
There are cutes, by the way.
Yeah,
Why would you abandon babies?
true.
Mm.
At the very least, we can adopt them, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So if you guys have stayed to the end, thank you so much for sharing your time, for sparing your time and listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it. And yes, thank you so much. Don't forget to post Purple Tuesday, hashtag say no to child abandonment. And
Yeah.
thank you
Thank you
so much for
guys, and good evening. And have a good evening.
have a good evening.